Hello and welcome to another episode of Movies That Make Us. I'm Jake.
I'm Tracy.
And I'm James.
And James is here. We don't have Val, but we have James, and we'll take it.
Welcome back,
Val. What's that, Tracy?
I said, welcome back, James.
Thank you.
Yes, welcome back, James. We had you on before. We talked about A Knight's Tale, which was one of our best episodes as far as reception from the audience and everything. So thank you for coming back. We're assuming it was all you and not the movie we selected at all.
I agree.
I think there's probably some truth to that, to be honest. So we're glad to have you back. Val is still traveling around Africa somewhere. Mm-hmm. She's been in Zambia. Zambia. She's been in South Africa. Yeah. I don't know where she is now, Tracy.
She's taking pictures of monkeys waving at her. She's got buffalo. She's got rhinos.
I noticed that as they stay there longer, Dave looks more and more like he's on safari. Like the most recent picture she posted, he's like in all khaki with the hat, everything, like all out. So maybe they're never coming back. He's found a new hobby, a new place on safari.
A new place, yeah. Well, she can still remote in next time then.
Yeah. Well, James, what's new with you? It's been a while since we've had you on here. How are things going?
Things are going pretty well. I'm hoping winter's over.
Yeah,
us too.
Aren't we all?
My gosh!
Every time you guys post photos of snow in your yards, I'm like, all right, we got 2 days to prepare for this.
That's coming my way.
It's coming our way. Yeah.
That's how I am with California. I've got friends in California who start posting about the rains are coming again. And I'm like, oh, crap.
Right?
Yeah. We know what that means. Well, this morning, it was a typical kind of snowy spring day for us in Salt Lake, at least. It was snowy this morning. We had not a few. It was like an inch of snow on the ground, and it was gone by this afternoon, and the sun was finally out a little bit this evening. And so hopefully we get more of the sunshine and the snow melting. Then I feel like that TikTok sound where they're like giving them slices of pie. Like, it's enough slices. That's enough slices. That's how I feel with the snow. It's enough now.
Yeah, were like, we really need the snow. This drought is terrible. And then we get all the snow and we're like, we don't want any more snow.
Right?
800 inches up in Alta this year.
Yeah.
Wow.
So,
yeah, record setting. We have never had that much snow as far as back as we've recorded.
Right. Which we assume all of our recorded history is the only history that matters. So
I like snow and I like snowy scenes. I'm a big Currier and Ives fan.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
That's not the extent of my tolerance for it.
Yeah.
And the reasons that I live in Arizona.
Yeah.
And it's not for, 60 inches of snowfall.
The nice thing is you're like kind of up in the mountainous area of Arizona, though.
Oh, we get enough, so it looks pretty.
Yeah.
It looks like a postcard. It's like, that's Instagram worthy, but I want it to go away in the morning.
But even in the summer, you don't get 125 like it does down in the valley.
No, about August, everybody I know who lives in Phoenix suddenly becomes my closest personal friend.
Yep, that sounds about right. Yeah, I don't know that I could do the Phoenix heat. I did it for a summer, and I'm like, this is not for me. But I also don't like the Salt Lake snow, so I really have no place to go. California is kind of my last.
Heat either. When it gets over 100, it's just awful, no matter what.
Yeah. Oh well.
Yeah,
what can you do? There's no perfect place to live.
3 men arguing about the weather. This is great.
Right. This is the content people come to when they come to Movies That Make Us. Yeah, this is what we mean by Movies That Make Us.
Right.
Raw. That's our thing, James. We've started calling it raw when we start really getting deep into stuff that's uncut, unfiltered,
unedited.
Discussions about the weather.
I'm just happy I showed up on time for this because last week I was here around lunchtime, feeling like, all right, I had a shower, I'm dressed, I'm doing adult things, I have a handle on my day. My day is going well, and then the phone, and it was my old apprentice Mary, who's the local high school art teacher, who said, "It's career day today." And the director was wondering if you're going to come for the rest of the sessions.
Oh, no.
That I had agreed to like a month ago. I said, when's the next session? She says, in about 20 minutes. And I said, tell them I'm going to be there. And I grabbed my briefcase and a handful of books and just drove to the high school, walked in the classroom, started talking, and did 3 back-to-back sessions. And it ended up being fine. We got kids from the first session I missed to come back to the later classes, but no, I'm figuring for a Friday evening, I showed up here on time. That's like, that's
huge.
People tuning in right there.
You are a time lord, however.
This is true. I was late originally, but I went back and fixed it.
There you go. There you go. 2 quick things, James.
Yes.
One, we went and saw Dungeons and Dragons: Honor Among Thieves, and I think you're going to enjoy the heck out of it.
Awesome.
Very much recommend you checking out that movie.
Okay.
And the second one is, I told Jake this story already, but I haven't told you. And since it's Friday Night Raw, let's do this. I had the craziest dream the other night in that I got my big breakthrough and Jon Favreau hired me.
I forgot what story you were telling here, Tracy. Now I remember.
How can you forget this story? Come on.
Well, no, I remember it very well now. Go ahead.
So I got my big break, and Jon Favreau hired me to direct an episode of The Mandalorian. And I got the script, and I'm all excited about it. And I'm reading through it, and everything's going great until I got to the Bo-Katan Din Djarin sex scene. And then I was just so confused as to what I was going to do, because all I could imagine was like trying to gently stroke a helmet. And I'm like trying to figure out what to do. And then I woke up in a cold sweat, and I thought, what in the world? So yeah, it wasn't even a sexy dream. I had dreams of Mandalorian helmets and dresses.
Yeah. I told him the only way that scene can really end is with Bo-Katan like lighting some kind of Star Wars equivalent of a cigarette, a death stick, and saying, "This is the way." And I feel like that's the only way. Laying there satisfied, this is the way.
Right.
And then just agreeing with her. Yeah.
Right.
So there's Tracy's contribution to the Star Wars lore.
Work. Yeah.
Yeah.
So now every time you watch Mando, and you can just imagine that scene, and you're welcome.
Well, thanks for that, Tracy.
But no, we saw Dungeons and Dragons. A lot of fun, a lot of heart. Definitely up your alley. Check that one out. Are you? I can't remember. Are you a player, or were you?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, this is one of those rare films. Everybody that we've talked to that is a player has said that they enjoyed it. There were a couple of things that people have pointed out, small things, but for the most part, they've said it feels like it's the essence of playing a Dungeons and Dragons campaign. And then those that have never played Dungeons and Dragons are coming out and saying they really enjoyed it. So they have seemed to have found that magic spot right in the middle where it is pleasing whole new fans and fans of the game alike, which is great. I hope it leads to more. I think they've got a plethora of stories to draw from in Dungeons and Dragons.
My mother was one of those that read the newspaper articles about
Perfect. Yeah,
absolutely. So of course I was obsessed with it. So
yeah, yeah. My parents were also hesitant about it, and I think I was a little bit later than the whole satanic panic, but it was still etched enough in their brains that it was like Dungeons and Dragons. I'm pretty sure I heard something about that being evil. And then they met my friend Nam, who was the one helping me do Dungeons and Dragons, and they thought, "Nah, we're fine," because he was like the least threatening person that they've ever met. So
if this kid's cake
won him
to
over.
Satan, we got. I'm going to be surprised.
Yeah. My straight A student friend Nam, who was like totally responsible, and yeah, maybe this is fine. So If I'd come home with somebody like Eddie from Stranger Things, they probably would have been like, "No, this is not."
Mother's take was, "Oh, this means you're going to stay in on Saturday night." Okay. Like we're literally in the dining room all night.
Yeah.
It was like the least threatening thing we could do as teenagers.
Well, and I think that's the thing. If parents had taken the time to sit and watch their kids play the game, they would be like, "Oh yeah, no, this is fine. This I don't know what we're worried about," because it is. They're like learning math, like storytelling, like it's just. I don't know.
But there's dice involved, and that could lead to gambling.
You're the dungeon master. I'm so proud of you.
Yep. Take on anyway, that could take on a whole new meaning later in life. Well, James, you're our guest. We are excited to have you. You have picked a movie. I'll be honest, I had not seen it before we recorded this episode. And you picked The Thomas Crown Affair, which I had heard of. Wasn't sure what to expect, but it's Pierce Brosnan, 1999, Renee Russo. Tell us about this movie, James. Why did you pick this one?
So I have a very large studio, and the value of things in the studio can be judged based on their proximity to my office.
Okay.
I have a TV stand that looks like an art easel, and it has rows of DVDs underneath it, and that is my Desert Island DVD collection.
Okay.
And so when Tracy mentioned that you wanted to have me back on the show and to have me pick a movie, I went to look under what's in my office right now. And The Thomas Crown Affair is one of those DVDs. I own it online. I own it in DVD form.
Mm-hmm.
I saw it as one of only two people in a theater in Garden Grove, California, when I was there doing some visits, trying to sell something to Hollywood, and went to a theater and thought a Pierce Brosnan movie sounds really good, and I loved it. Just absolutely loved the film, loved the characters, loved the interaction, loved everything about it. So that was the one that I kept going back to as the one I suggested that we should talk about.
And this is Pierce Brosnan, like at the height of Pierce Brosnan. I mean, he's done James Bond at this point. Everybody knows him for that. And then Thomas Crown Affair comes out, and I remember this coming out. I remember this being in the theaters. I think I may have even been working at the theater at this point because that's about the time that I was working at Sandy Movies 9. It's now closed. Rest in peace. Yeah, but so I do remember this coming out, and I thought I always kind of thought this was like a James Bond-esque movie, and I feel like it kind of is. It's like James Bond, but stealing a painting and then putting it back, and it's an interesting premise to the film, right?
A billionaire that decides he wants to become an art thief just to add some excitement into his life.
Yep.
And then gets into a relationship with the insurance investigator who is investigating the theft of the art to try to prove that he stole it.
Yeah,
no, that's the whole plot right there.
He likes to live on the edge, that's for sure.
And I like that they set up right at the very beginning that he has trust issues in relationships, because it's like him with his therapist. They're establishing that right away, because what he and the insurance investigator, the relationship that they get into, I don't know that I would call that necessarily a healthy relationship.
No.
And they both seem to lack trust, and for good reason. Right. I mean, she's trying to catch him in the thievery, and he's completely
he wants
untrustworthy.
To get caught, but he doesn't.
Yeah.
His therapist is more in it for the, oh, what did you do now?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, she's not a very good therapist, really, when you think about it.
She just wants to hear the stories and eat popcorn. That's what she wants.
No, I do like the fact that the therapist is played by Faye Dunaway, who played in the original version of the movie.
Oh, really? Interesting. Yeah. Okay.
So when you saw this in the theater, James, had you seen the original? Is
no.
that why? Okay.
I
So
hadn't.
you just went in cold.
It was a Pierce Brosnan movie.
Okay.
Yep.
That then halfway through the movie turned into this is a Renee Russo movie.
Yes.
Hubba hubba.
Yeah.
And Dennis Leary's there for, flavor.
Yeah, this was the Dennis Leary phase where he was trying to be a serious actor.
Yes. Yep.
And I don't know why he never really made it as a serious. Like, I know he had what was the series that he was on?
The fire. He was
the firefighter series.
Yeah.
That was really good. But I mean, he was really good in this. He's not a bad actor by any stretch, I don't think.
And I also, how's this for jumping all over the place? I maintain there are 4 leads in this movie.
Okay.
Pierce Brosnan,
yes,
Renee Russo, Dennis Leary, and Nina Simone. The soundtrack.
Okay.
Oh, okay. Yes. Okay.
I don't remember who Nina Simone is.
That is as important to me as every actual performance of the film is that soundtrack.
Yeah. That jazz is great. Yeah.
I mean, that whole long scene where he's actually when they're trying to catch him at the museum and they have the extended version of Sinnerman by Nina Simone playing was just absolutely perfect soundtrack addition to a film. Perfect.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I'm a sucker for a good heist film. I saw this originally when it first came out. My mom was a big Pierce Brosnan fan, but I hadn't seen it in a long time since, so I'd forgotten almost all of it. So it was fun to go back and revisit. I'm like, oh yeah, okay. But I forgot all the switcheroos, and I'm always, like I said, I'm down for a good heist film. So this is fun.
Now here's the thing about this that when I was making some notes
about
this, one of the things that
I brought notes, Tracy.
We
I'm a little nervous. I feel underprepared.
One of the things that I've taught as a writing instructor.
Yes.
One of the easiest things to add some flavor to your story is to have good characters do bad things.
Right.
And bad characters do good things. So you've got that conflict. Now in this one, Pierce Brosnan is an anti-hero.
Yes.
Yeah.
He's an art thief. He stole this painting, and they're legitimately trying to prove that he is the guy who stole it, who masterminded this whole thing. Right. I love an anti-hero story where it's the actual crime committed is a benign thing. Nobody was killed. Nobody was harmed. He's not a harmful criminal. He did something because he was bored to see if he could do it.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I love it. Made sure everybody was right at the end.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's exactly it. At the end of the film, at the end of the story, everything is back where it's supposed to be. He has had this adventure. He never actually does anything wrong. You know, the whole reveal, surprise to people who haven't seen the whole reveal of it was here all along. He put it back almost as soon as he stole it.
Yeah.
So where was the actual crime? No, there wasn't an actual crime. There was just an adventure story.
It's just a prank.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just boys being boys.
I did wonder, as far as not being an actual crime, he did cover up a Monet painting with watercolors, with water paints. Is that okay to do? Is that not going to ruin the painting underneath?
Okay. As an artist, I have actually tested this.
Okay.
As in, I covered an oil painting with watercolors, with gouache, actually.
Okay.
See if you could then spray the thing off without damaging the oil painting underneath. It absolutely works.
Wow. Really?
Absolutely.
See, I was like, I need someone to Mythbuster this, because I was like, there's no way.
I spent about 2 days kind of dampening down every criminal impulse in my head. And now that I know this is functional and can work, I'm 3 hours away from the Phoenix Art Museum.
Don't do it, James. I don't think that you can just fly away like he does.
Wheels are turning again.
No one caught me.
I'm going to have to message your fiance.
No one caught me. That means you did it.
Keep an eye on you.
No, actually, that was enough of an issue for me that I actually tried it. We found some oil canvases here, painted over them with gouache, which is the opaque watercolor, and then just basically took a pressure hose to them.
Oh my gosh!
And the thing is a properly gessoed oil painting on canvas is fairly, indestructible.
That's impressive.
There you go.
I'm going to have to tell Helen to keep an eye on you because I can kind of see the wheels are turning again.
Because that was the part that everything else I was fine with. Nothing else pushed the boundaries of believability, but that part was the part that I struggled with. And now the whole thing seems plausible.
I actually worried about that as soon as I saw the sprinklers come on, and I wondered about it being damaged. And this is a deep personal issue for me because the first time I went to the Phoenix Art Museum, I wanted to know if it was on canvas. So I poked one of the paintings, and one of the guards was like right there instantly.
Oh, I'm
He's like,
sure.
"Do not touch the paintings." I was horrified.
So you were like the little girl in the beginning of this movie that goes to touch the painting, and the guard's right there. Don't touch.
That was me. Totally.
No touchy.
Well, they set it up to make you think that really wouldn't be good for the paintings because as the smoke is going off with the smoke bombs, before the sprinklers come on, they cover up all the paintings with those sliding doors.
Yeah.
And that are apparently stopped by pencils in the track.
Right.
And then the sprinklers come on, and so that makes you think like that's really going to damage the paintings as you're watching it happen.
Plausibility issue, Jake. The smoke would not set off the sprinklers because they are turned on by heat, not by smoke.
Okay, I didn't know that.
There's
the plot hole.
Right,
that's the only one in the whole movie. No,
but I read an interview with James McTiernan, who is the director, and he said he came up with the idea for the infrared cameras when he was making Predator, because when they were filming out in the jungle and shooting infrared, when it got over 90 degrees, they couldn't film anything because it would just white it all out. And so then he wrote that into the script. I'm like, I like that.
But wouldn't you think that they would have like the infrared cameras and then regular cameras just in case something happened where the temperature got up that high?
This is the 90s.
I guess.
You didn't have that redundancy.
I love films set in the 90s in New York. There's just something about 1990s New York, and this is one of those films. The way that they have rich people in New York dress in the 90s, like it's all very nostalgic for me. And he has that. He has like the Kevin McAllister's dad coat in some of the scenes because that's what rich people in the 90s wore. And it's just like there's just so much nostalgia there for me from that aspect that I really enjoyed quite a bit. Speaking of it being in the 90s.
My mom noticed this and pointed this out to me. When he gets out of the car and he hits the hood, I think it was a limo. He hits the hood a couple of times. That's exactly what he'd do in Remington Steele, and she loved Remington Steele. So as soon as he did it in this movie, she's like, "Oh my gosh!" She's like really freaked out about it. So,
and you know that he did that on purpose. Like totally. That's a callback. Absolutely. Yeah, I love that.
And it's kind of interesting because like he was so high, but then he kind of fell off a cliff for a while, and now he's getting a resurgence, doing Doom Patrol on HBO Max, and then Black Adam, where he was Dr. Fate. So he's kind of become kind of cool again, which is fun because
so he and Brendan Fraser have the same press agent, basically.
What? Say again?
He and Brendan Fraser have the same press agent, basically.
Yeah. Yeah, they both joined up with Doom Patrol and their careers just took off again.
We need to play weird superheroes.
That is like the weirdest DC property, but it's one of their best ones.
Yeah.
I think, So
I don't know that I would call being in Black Adam though resurgence of one's career.
Well, it was a lot of people were excited to see him as Dr. Fate.
Yeah, and he was good as Dr. Fate.
Commentary is the best thing in the movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Pierce Brosnan, Dr. Fate, that was
That's
absolutely
a no-brainer.
yeah.
Yeah.
Who else was in that movie? That other dude. Whatever.
Rescue guy.
Right?
I will say this. I don't know how you take someone as charismatic as The Rock and then say, look, we want you to be monotone and deadpan through this whole movie and think that that's a good idea. Why are you hiring The Rock for that role?
Yep.
If that's how you want to play it, anyway.
Yeah.
But we don't need to talk about Black Adam. That's not why we're here. I'd much rather talk about the Thomas Crown affair. Much rather. I really liked Renee Russo's character in this. I
She's
thought
great.
she was smart. It was to me, it was very reminiscent of like a Sherlock Holmes, Professor Moriarty kind of relationship between the two. They knew they were playing the game, right? She didn't care about him getting arrested or going to jail from the beginning. She just had to win, and he just had to win. That's it. And I liked that kind of rivalry that they had because that makes it fun when they're all playing the same game by the same rules.
Well, I did like how they established right up front with that kind of a montage of scenes that he had kind of peaked as a businessman.
Right.
Yeah.
With no opponent that could actually beat him in business, no matter what the circumstances were, to the point where he's betting $100,000 on a golf swing.
Right.
Yeah.
So doing something like an art heist and then going up against someone like Catherine as an opponent. I did love the fact that the other opponent was Dennis Leary.
Yeah.
Who would think he's doing a bold move. He'd show up at the townhouse, with a search warrant, and he's like, well, my attorney needs to look at that. And he's like, well, when you get a hold of him, he's like, he's in here cooking dinner.
Yeah.
And then the attorney steps out over the search warrant. I love that bit. But the Dennis Leary, as the opponent, kind of knew he was outmatched.
Yeah.
By both of them.
Yeah.
He knew he was outclassed by both of them. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, because she figures it out right away. She's like, let's look at who's bid on Monet paintings. And then you realize partway through the movie, he left all of these breadcrumbs for someone like her to find. Like he didn't have any interest in the Monet paintings, except that sets it up that if somebody dug a little bit, they would see him as a suspect and start digging. And then, because that, I think for him was the thrill of someone figuring it out.
Right.
More than the thrill of, because you hear about these rich celebrities that like to shoplift because the thrill of stealing something from a store that they could easily pay for, I guess.
Right.
But this was much more than that. It was the thrill of the hunt and the thrill of the game, and that made it more entertaining and made his character more endearing. He wasn't just stealing just to steal. He was doing it kind of for fun. So the moral of the story, kids, is if you're going to steal, do it for fun. Do it for the thrill of having someone figure it out and solve the crime.
But be smart about it.
Yeah, put the item back. So
this is the most morally ambiguous episode of movies that make us.
It absolutely is. And you'll find, James, and you know this about me, I love Superman. Not as much as you, because I don't know that anybody does, but I love Superman because he's not morally ambiguous at all. That's not the main reason, but that is one of the things I love about him. He's always in the right. He's always the good guy, right? But yeah, sometimes you like the anti-hero, especially when he's got piercing eyes like Pierce Brosnan.
Well, that whole sequence when they're on the beach and she's looking at that crate that's been in the back of the Jeep the whole time.
Yeah.
And then puts it in the fire.
I know.
Panics, and she's like, "So what was it?" And he's like, "Nice little Renoir."
Copy of Renoir, right?
Yeah.
Well, we'll never know.
Right. That's exactly the sort of thing that I loved about this. Is that moment was the game of chicken.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That he absolutely just didn't blink, and then she realized he's going to let me burn it. It's going to burn. It is burning.
Yeah.
Well, they set it up so nicely because he keeps going, you want to know?
Right?
You want to know?
No, I don't want to know. No.
The other great line that I love in that sequence is when they first arrive on the island. She's like, well, this probably usually works for you. He's like, for what? She's like, for whoever you bring here. I'd never bring anybody here.
Yeah.
Yeah, and see, this is where he gets a little bit into the manipulative stuff that I struggled with a little bit, because then they get the pictures of him with Anna, who we find out is his forger, but as the movie progresses, and he's like, "Oh, I let them take those pictures," and then he says to her, like, it's all justified and fine. How else was I supposed to figure out if you were in it for anything more than just the painting? I don't know. Like a normal human being, you just build a relationship with the person, not like.
Manipulate.
That's right. That was the only thing. The only thing you could do was like test her and see how jealous she would get if she saw you with another woman. That's really the logical only thing you could do in that situation.
You know, I don't know.
Sorry, Jay.
I don't have the same exact life problems that a billionaire has.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
No.
But I have been in that position where I've made connections with people.
Yeah.
And they Google me and come up with things like the movie option with the Harry Potter producers.
Yeah.
And then I stumble across comments that they've made on forums that they don't realize I'm paying attention to.
Uh-huh.
That wasn't a connection to me. That was a, who is he connected to?
That
isn't it now. Now this is a link in our chain, and just feeling totally disheartened by the fact that I thought this was a genuine thing, and no, it was, how can he advance what we want to do?
Yeah. How can I get up the chain? Yeah.
So somebody who is a well-known billionaire, I can absolutely see that as a legitimate question of what is the connection going on here? Is it this chase, this mystery, this cat and mouse thing we have going on, or is it because I'm a billionaire and she's
yeah
that's
a valid point.
Yeah, you're right. He had no choice. It was the only thing he could do. But no, I think that's true. I think his concern was a valid concern. I just think, I don't know. And then they set it up really well when she walks in on the two of them in his room, and then of course you assume the worst, that he was just lying about the whole thing. But only because, I mean, he was an art thief at that point, and honesty wasn't necessarily high up on what he did. And we know he doesn't trust people. Like, we established that. However, in a classic story fashion, you establish that at the beginning so you can recognize the growth at the end, that he does actually finally trust someone and have somewhat of a normal relationship. Neither of these people are ever going to be in a completely normal relationship because they're not normal people. But they were good for each other.
When she walks in, when Catherine walks in, finds him and Anna, and makes these assumptions. I've had some real world experience with something similar, where we were restoring this old church, this building that's my studio, and we had a banker working for us that had been like an adopted aunt when we were kids growing up, my brother and I. I'm in my office and I hear a noise in the front room where they're working on something, and I go walking in there, and here's this lady who is like an aunt, a beloved family member to me and my brother, sitting in front of a computer with all these porn windows on it. And they look like deer caught in the headlights. And I said, what is going on in here? And they said, we were looking up those window latches and we clicked on the wrong link, and like 40 of these windows popped up. And every time we close one, 10 more pop up. And I'm just looking at all these pornography windows on their computer and shaking my head and going, okay, so you want me to believe your story about why I walked in here to find you two in this position? Am I going to need to talk to your spouses? Is this something we're going to have to address? And I'm joking with them, and they're both horrified about, we swear we were looking up window latches.
So I believe Jeremy in this case, because I was one time I worked for a company that had a satellite office distributor in Asia when the big tsunami hit. And we were putting together a video to try and drive people to contribute to a charity fund to help them get back on their feet. and I needed some images of the tsunami. And so I Googled Asia tsunami, and evidently there's a porn star by that name. And so all the image results that came up at work, and I'm like, and started trying to close, started getting pop-ups. So I'm totally with Jeremy on this one. I ended up having to, pull the plug on the computer to get it to stop because it was really bad. So I'm with Jeremy on this one.
Well, just the whole idea that Crown was always a few steps ahead.
Mm-hmm.
I do like the fact that they stayed true to that idea through the entire film, up to the point where she even realizes, no, he set this up to test me.
Right.
And then realized that he was still even a few steps ahead of where she was at with that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then he still showed up because the connection between them was still the more important thing to him. But just that look in his face when she sees him on the plane, and then nearly kills him and then starts making out with him. I thought, that was such a perfect ending to this whole.
That was one of my favorite moments that I've seen in any movie ever, because when she jumps over the seat, which, by the way, is, I don't think, allowed in airplanes, generally speaking, jumps over the seat, and the flight attendant is like, ma'am, this fasten seatbelt, and then she sees that they're making out, and she's like, oh, okay, that's fine. And then it's totally fine. And you get the super duper happy ending, which is great. I always like
the seats a lot bigger back in the 90s, because there's no way that could happen now.
Oh, they were flying first class. That had to be first class.
Still.
Tommy Crown's not flying coach, man.
Tommy Crown.
I mean, the fact that he set foot on a commercial flight, I couldn't believe that. But he did it for the woman he loved. That's love right there.
So
giving up your private jet to fly first class on commercial.
Yeah, if he puts her on the private plane, it gives the whole thing away.
Well, sure, he couldn't do that. He had to. That wasn't part that for her to pass the test. She had to get on the plane and send the painting back, and then anyway.
It's so funny too, watching like movies set in airports or dealing with airplanes in pre 9/11, and now you're watching it in a post 9/11 world, where she's just like, "Can you make sure that this painting gets to the chief of police?" And he's like, "Okay,
yeah, no problem." How many carry-ons did you have? 12 carry-ons? No problem.
Yeah. How much? Do you have any luggage? You're going international? Nope. Okay.
Yeah, that's fine. So let me get this straight. And that's the other thing. So you're working at an airline. So it says, can you please get this painting that I'm sure is 100% not stolen back to the chief of police in New York? Do you have any luggage for your transatlantic flight? Nope. Just me flying all of a sudden with no luggage.
And I'm okay with
that. That sounds great. Enjoy your flight, ma'am. No suspicion at all.
The next, there needs to be, Tracy, you make movies. You should direct like the short 2-minute coda to this.
Okay.
The flight attendant is like hanging the thing in her apartment, and her roommate's like, "Where did you get that?" And she's like, "This lady just dropped it off at the counter."
Get this, she told me to take it to the chief of police, and I said, "Sure." What a sucker!
Then she tipped me $100, so pizza's on me.
It looks great over the fireplace, doesn't it?
Right?
Yeah. over the radiator in her apartment.
Yeah, last night we were at a premiere for Dungeons and Dragons, and the theater had given us some Dungeons and Dragons swag to give away, or that they were giving away, but they wanted us to promote it. And so at the end of the night, we took it back to the info table. And they were like, "Wow, where did you get this? This is really cool." And we're like, "Well, this is going back to Jeff." And they're like, "Oh, sure, we'll make sure it gets back to him." So it's kind of the same thing. Yeah, it's like,
I'm expecting to get an email from him.
Yeah.
Hey, what the shirt and the stuff that we gave you? We left them with some employees. Do you remember their names? No, sorry.
Right. Jay, Silent Bob.
Yeah. One of them had hair. So did the other one.
They both really liked the stuff though, so I'm sure they got it back to you.
Yeah, they knew who you were and everything, and sounded excited to get this right back to you.
You turned it over with the 2 car attendant guys from Ferris Bueller.
There you go. There you go.
They'll get it right back.
Problem.
Just a little fun note of trivia. I was just looking up some info about this movie, and the scene where she whips the towel and it goes around his neck. They ended up having to do that 16 times, and they ended up putting like little weights. They sewed weights into the towel so that they could get that to work. But
wow.
And the other thing is that was really cool is Pierce Brosnan did all his own stunts. The stuff in the museum's not too physical, but he's going under the closing gate and stuff. But the stuff on the boat, that was actually him. He legit did that by himself.
When he tipped over the boat?
Yeah.
Okay. I was trying to think when you said he did his own stunts. I was like, he got out of a car. This isn't like Daniel Craig in Casino Royale.
Yeah, he does. He slides under the gate and a few things. But yeah,
I was thinking the sex scene with Renee Russo on the staircase.
Well, he probably signed up to do that.
There's no carpet on those stairs.
I don't need a body double.
Holy cow. Can't you get a pillow or something? I mean,
it's just earlier today while I was working, I had Seinfeld on in the background, and it's the one where Elaine hates the English patient. She's like, sex in a bathtub, that doesn't work. Everybody's like, it's so romantic.
It's another way that Hollywood has lied to us. I mean, those are the things that you're like, I'm not trying that at home.
Yep. Or then you do the Will Ferrell, oh, my back.
Yeah.
I guess it depends on how much of that champagne they'd had beforehand.
That's a good point. So
yeah,
I'd love to see him do another one of these types of films where he plays. I mean, he can pull off the suave billionaire, and I just love to see more of him because he's really, really good, and we just don't get enough of him, I think.
Yeah,
and Renee, we haven't seen Renee for quite a while.
Well, she's been my favorite thing she's done lately is in Thor, the Marvel universe.
That's right. Yeah, she was Thor's mom. Yeah.
And she was really good.
That was really good.
Yeah, that really worked for me.
Her in Endgame was one of my favorite Marvel sequences.
Yeah.
I would like to see Pierce Brosnan do some more stuff for sure, and I think he's kind of hit that age.
I would lobby for some sort of a sequel to this film, just for the single scene of Dennis Leary going, oh gosh, not you again. Is this? Oh man, I'm going to retire early. I do not want to have to deal with both of you again.
I was 3 days away from retirement, and then you showed up.
Just for the Dennis Leary scenes.
Yeah.
Him going into a museum and going like, did you find any pencils? And I'm like, pencils, sir? And he's like, never mind.
Yeah, don't worry about it.
Well, okay, so my favorite scene, one of many favorite scenes, the whole bit where he knows they're setting up a trap for him. And he has all the decoys dressed like the Magritte painting.
Yes.
Yeah.
All carrying briefcases, all wearing the bowler hats, spread throughout that museum, passing off briefcases. That was an all to a Nina Simone soundtrack of Cinnamon.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that is a great scene.
I'd love to see the scene that didn't make the movie where he's like out recruiting people. How would you like to make an easy $100? All you have to do is wear this hat and walk through the museum and carry a briefcase.
That's something that has been on my mind recently for a lot of films and projects is the henchman. The guy that meets Catherine at the helipad.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
He's got, and he says, oh, he left this for you. Okay.
Yeah.
How does somebody like that hire these people? How do you screen those people? Yeah. How do you hire people willing to hide inside of an actual Trojan horse?
That was great.
With scuba
the Trojan horse thing was. Tell me it wasn't a horse. Well, actually. Oh man. Yeah, I love that he's got the scuba gear on and everything when he comes out breathing. And...
Right. Yeah, that needs to be like a whole side, videos.
I need you to do all this stuff, and you can't reveal my identity.
Right.
Oh, and by the way, I need you to kind of take the fall for it and never tell them when I'm in there.
Well,
ratting you out. But they don't know. Listen, if you can afford quality henchmen that are going to do enough of the job, you can afford good middlemen to hire the quality henchmen.
That's a good point.
So they never see your face. They never know who they're actually working for.
The Joker in The Dark Knight. Yeah. They never know exactly who hired him. Yeah.
Yeah.
That was good. That's a good segue.
So did we just move Thomas Crown from being an anti-hero in the story to being a supervillain? Because he's got henchmen and middlemen and all of that.
He's got shades of gray. He's not shooting the henchman, though. See,
but
he's not like
back. I mean, he put the painting back.
Yeah,
he did put the painting back,
and he's not shooting the henchman after they do their part of the plan.
He put the painting back and then stole another one.
Yeah.
So,
but he gave that one back too.
Right.
Well, he didn't. He was hoping she would, maybe.
Right. But by then he knew her so well that he knew that she knew that she would.
Uh-huh. We're giving him an awful lot of credit to get him out of the supervillain category where he's hiring henchmen.
Man. That man's so charming. He just, you can't help but.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's the thing. It is weird to me because really he is not the type of character that I usually like in film.
Yeah.
I just am usually not going for the bad guy at all. And I like him fine in this movie. And then it's like, oh, it's so good those two kids got together. I'm happy it worked out for them. Instead of, he really should have ended up in jail. Like, stealing a painting is still wrong, even if you put it back.
Defacing a painting, even if it washes off, that's still wrong.
Well, I love that one of the things he does, is donate something to the museum from his collection. So they have a big press conference and like, oh, Mr. Crown is, giving us this piece, and he's such a great patron for the museum. And how heavy is that briefcase anyway?
Yep.
That was another one of those henchman things. It's like
all I did was stand here and
offered the butler to do. It's like I need to be able to put this briefcase under a security door.
Here's $100.
Right.
Yep.
Which now would be worth a lot more because you got to think of inflation.
Right.
Yeah. It's hard to get a good henchman for less than $500 nowadays. When I've looked on Craigslist, that's about what they go for.
Wow.
You need us to protect your anonymity? $500. We'll do the job.
Wait, was that you? What's your username? Craigslist?
Tommy Crown 82. That's my username on Craigslist.
You know what we need? We need Lewis from the Ant-Man movies to recap the movie for us.
Right?
At the end.
That would be perfect. So like then the insurance chick, she's hot because all insurance chicks are hot.
Yeah.
But she's really hot. And then
I just assume he must not be doing that stuff anymore because they didn't put him in the latest Ant-Man movie, and that's the only reason I can think of for them not including him in the latest Ant-Man movie.
That movie needed him in that, yes.
I need to send you. I posted on Facebook Lewis doing a whole recap of the last season of Game of Thrones. So like the little Lannister, Tylenol. Yeah, I'll send you that.
That sounds perfect. That sounds perfect.
So now, Jake, I got to tell you, if you ever get the chance and you're out in Arizona, make the drive up to James' studio because it's like Willy Wonka for comic book and movie geeks. It's like the chocolate factory. He's got the before it was Revenge of this, or what's the poster you got?
Revenge of the Jedi?
Revenge of the Jedi, yeah. He's got a Revenge of the Jedi poster. You've got
that's like the holy grail of Star Wars posters.
And they have the patches they manufactured to go with it. So I have
Wow.
the embroidered patches, and I have a piece of Jabba's barge because the collector who gave me all of that stuff went to Yuma for the filming of Jedi, and they enlisted all the volunteers, all the people watching the filming, to come in and help clean up the site, and said, you can keep whatever you pick up. So a whole bunch of these people watching them film picked up pieces of the actual barge they blew up out there.
That's so cool.
I have a piece down the hall. So
yeah, he's got like the Grail, the Grail from Indiana Jones, The Last Crusade.
the tablet. Yeah, the Grail
The
tablet.
tablet. I thought you had the Grail as well.
It's in the art room.
Okay.
with the goblet of fire.
But like everywhere you look, there's like something cool, and it's got this great story behind it. It's just phenomenal.
Sounds like we need to make a road trip, Tracy. And we've talked about this before, James. My dream has always been to own a church and make it my home and everything. And I know that's what your studio was, and I think that's really cool.
We actually just last year formally incorporated my long-term plan for this place. It's called the Biblioteca Fantastica. And it is the Huntington Library for the Fantastic Arts.
I love that.
That's awesome.
So there are things, we have librarians all over the world that are collecting things for us and donating them. And that is the long-term plan for the ownership of my own creative works, but to establish basically a permanent library of the fantastic and creative arts.
That's so cool.
Just of awesome stuff. One-of-a-kind stuff, things that you would not find in any other museum or places just because they don't understand what they have or the value of it.
Yeah.
That's the sort of thing we collect here. It's the island of misfit toys, but all the toys are awesome.
That's awesome.
Is the Dr. Pepper strawberry can going to be incorporated into the future plans?
It's going to have to be, because
that's turning your current
that's
obsession.
like a significant percentage of my blood right now.
Hey, it at the Dietz household, it flows like, I don't know, water around here.
The main beverage tastes like strawberry Nesquik, and all the Scentsy candles we had burning in the place smell like Fruit Loops. And
that sounds amazing.
It's basically, I've taken the best year of your childhood Saturday morning cartoons and made it a physical place.
Yeah.
That sounds a lot like Willy Wonka's Chocolate Factory. Actually, the smell of Fruit Loops and then the Nesquik flavor. But no, my wife discovered the strawberry Dr. Pepper, and it's been a favorite in our household for sure.
Don't try the Peepsy. Don't try the Peepsy.
Yeah, the Peeps Pepsi is no bueno.
It's so bad. I described it, and I was happy with this one. The aftertaste will haunt the back of your throat for days.
Yeah.
We've now entered the public service announcement phase of this podcast.
Don't. I haven't tried the strawberry Dr. Pepper. I've heard good things, but
and they have a zero sugar option that's pretty good, Tracy.
Okay,
so
we'll check that out. Should we grade this thing?
We should. We're probably at that point. All right, James, we're going to start with you on the grades. What do you think on this one? Standard letter grades, nothing fancy. Fancy, I don't care.
It's an A for me. It earned a place underneath the TV in the room where I spend the most time. So it's got to be an A.
Yeah. What about you, Tracy?
I'll go B+ on this one. I enjoy it quite a bit. It's fun. It's quite witty and entertaining and enjoyable. And I would definitely recommend this one.
Yeah. To me, and I mentioned it before, to me, it's like a good Sherlock Holmes versus Professor Moriarty if the two of them fell in love. Yeah. And that's kind of what this is. And I think it's enjoyable. I'm probably more in the B category, but that's still a really good, solid grade for me. Mm-hmm. But it's also a 1990s movie, and I love films in the 90s. I just do. It's a weird era to love, but that's what I grew up on. So that's
I went down like a 45-minute journey down the rabbit hole of 90s alternative rock the other day because I won tickets on the radio to see Three Doors Down with Candlebox.
Wow.
So if you want to go,
Candlebox, Are they gonna? I would love to go to that
Dude.
concert. I love Three Doors Down, man.
You and me, let's go.
All right, sounds like a deal. Like if you're serious, I'm in.
Dead serious. I got 2 tickets. So
Three Doors Down. They have the Kryptonite song, which is a great classic song. Candlebox. Do they have anything besides the one song? Really?
They have a couple. There's you. I don't remember. I can't remember the name of the songs, but there's like 2 or 3.
Yeah, I knew they had the one big hit that put them on the map.
That was the biggest one.
But
they did form up.
I want to start a band now and only do one song.
Yeah,
like that's the only song.
Right.
We're gonna do another song. That's just
as long as it's a hit.
Yeah,
as long as it's a hit. That's all you need is the one song. I mean, did Chumbawamba do anything besides the one song? I don't think so. Nobody knows about any of the others.
Cisco didn't do another one.
Yeah. Yeah, so there you go. So you can do something really great like the Thong Song by Cisco. That's all you need. All right. Well, we have officially got off the rails here at the end.
Before we go, James, give people where they can find you, what you're known for. I mean, we've had you on the other show, but for those that maybe missed it, give us a little bit of info on you.
I am a writer and illustrator of fantasy novels, primarily. Here There Be Dragons is the best known of the books, and jamesaowen.com is the main place to find me. Facebook under James Artemis Owen. I'm on there and I post frequently, but either of those, you can find just about anything you want to know.
Great artist, great writer, even better human. So thanks for joining us today, buddy.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate you guys inviting me.
It's always a pleasure to have you here, James. For those listening or watching, please subscribe to our YouTube channel. Make sure you follow us wherever you listen to us on the on podcasts, and leave a review. We always appreciate that kind of feedback as well, as long as it's positive. If you're going to leave a negative review, just stop listening to our show and move on, man. Like,
word.
Life's too short.
Yeah, but we'd love to hear from you, and we appreciate you listening and your support. And don't forget to join our Patreon. We would really appreciate your support there as well. And until next time, thank you so much for listening and watching, and we won't see you at the movies.
See you later.
This has been an Age of Geek media production.